All right, folks, welcome to another episode of the Wellness Cafe. Today we have Miss Sandi Rocco with me. How are you doing, Sandy?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and thanks again for your time. And we
Mhm.
met probably a few months back, and I really was touched by your story and what you do. So I invited you to come on to show to share with our audience today. So why don't we start with this? For our audience who has no idea who you are or tuning in for the first time, tell us a bit about yourself and your journey and how you get to do what you do today.
Okay, great. So I would say a long time ago, I started skating. I'm a competitive skater and dancer. And I was not allowed to eat the vending machine food or the snack bar food. My parents just didn't want me to. And with 3 kids and paying for skating, just they said, look, we're on a budget. We can't afford for you to eat at the skating rink too. So I had to bring my own food from home. And when I did have extra money from, little odd jobs or doing chores, I was a teenager and then I got my driver's license. Of course, the first thing my friends and I wanted to do was go get fast food. And it took me a few years to put everything together. But as soon as I would eat this other food that my body was not accustomed to, I would get sick. And I actually forgot about it for a long time. It was sort of a distant memory. But, with social media, people connect again. And I got this message, remember that time? And I was like, yeah, I remember that. So my innate intelligence was doing exactly perfectly what it was supposed to be doing, which was rejecting toxins. And so those foods were foreign to me. I think it's shocking that it's even called food. When did it become okay to have food mixed with chemicals still be called food? I don't know. But my body was not allowing that. And so I became very interested in nutrition at a long time. I would say uh, as I learned to read, I began reading labels and I was appalled at some of the things that I couldn't barely pronounce, let alone when I would find out what they were, I would say, we can't eat this. I was maybe, 4, 5, 6 years old trying to read labels. And but the true turning point was I was in banking. So I have a background in banking and finance and marketing. And I got a call that my mom was very sick. This is 20 years ago. She was in the hospital. My mom had 3 strokes at age 56. That's very young. So she had untreated hypertension, and she really wasn't overeating. She wasn't eating much at all, but her metabolism was a mess. Her healthy gut flora was a mess. She was toxic from other things, not eating the right things, smoking cigarettes, just, a myriad of things. So I flew home from my business trip in Chicago and I began looking at the things that she was hooked up to in the hospital, all the medicines and the food they brought in to feed her. I was shocked. I wasn't pleased with the food that they were giving her. So I began studying health and nutrition officially to assist my mom because they said she needed to lose weight for open heart surgery.
Mm.
And do you want to hear how it ended?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so fast forward 3 months later, I get a call from the doctor. What are you doing with your mother? I'm like, am I in trouble? And they said, well, whatever you're doing with your mom, keep doing it. In fact, we're going to keep sending you more patients. This is amazing. I'm like, I'm not in trouble. Okay, what are the results? And they said, well, we know you're not able to weigh your mom because she's been disabled in a wheelchair since her 3 strokes. She has lost 40 pounds. We compensated for the weight of the wheelchair. She's lost 40 pounds in 3 months with no exercise. Well, except for the exercises that you told her that we thought were amusing. I would basically give her a can of peaches and a can of beans from her pantry and say, this is not to eat. In fact, we should donate it, and just do some curls while she was watching TV or listening to radio. And she said, this is boring. I said, fine, do the alphabet. So I had her doing the alphabet for full range of motion, A, B, C, D.
With
There's
canned
26
vegetables.
letters. What's that?
With canned fruits and vegetables.
Just there's some little weights for her to have some more challenge getting the full range of motion. And okay, uppercase, now lowercase. And the doctors were amused at that. They said, your mom's spirit has completely changed. She was sad and depressed. She's now a cheerleader in the office. encouraging other patients. And she's sleeping. Her sleep was really a mess, as you know. I said, yeah. So she is rested. Her digestion was really not in a good place. So her digestion was restored. And they said, so keep doing what you're doing. I said, okay. Oh, and by the way, her blood pressure's down, her cholesterol's down, and her pre-diabetic condition has now, all of this has been reversed. And I said, so she's ready for surgery, open heart surgery. And they said, no, she doesn't need it. Wow. So that was pretty awesome. I was like, wow. And it touches me because that's a very invasive surgery. They crack open your ribs and they remove a vein from your thigh, your leg. And I was like, wow, okay, this is my calling and I need to do this officially.
So that's when it all began 20 years ago.
I would say officially 20 years ago. But again, as a kid learning to read labels, I was like inspired to learn as much as I could about what we were eating and drinking.
Right. So let's take me back to that. You were saying that they were giving her horrible foods and, of course, hospital foods. What kind of things they were giving her for a patient that was requiring heart surgery?
Sure. They were giving low-fat things that were full of artificial sweeteners. I was shocked that she had any dairy because dairy is full of, a lot of times, sodium and sugar. It was pretty much gray matter. The tray looked like there were no fresh fruits or vegetables. The items looked like they came from a box, a bag, or a can, and they weren't colorful, and there was really no live food. It was pretty much processed food. We do need hospitals for many things, but I just wanted to declare in creating my business that I would be of service to healthcare professionals. So ironically, in creating that, many of my clients are doctors and nurses because they're so busy taking care of others, they often forget about themselves. And they're very busy pulling long hours. On average, a doctor will spend maybe 7 minutes with a patient, and that's not a long time. So when my mom became ill, we hired a concierge doctor to make sure that she didn't have to wait to get an appointment. They could take care of her right away.
Awesome. So your business is called SF Fat Loss, right?
Correct.
And it served the Bay Area and San Francisco and San Mateo. And what differentiates your practice from other practice?
I feel that I have a definite distinct value to offer people. I bring my heart to the transactions, the interactions. I'm not opposed to shaking hands and hugging my clients on a regular basis. I think that's missing. A lot of times people are doing, like, we are not in the same room, but we saw each other just last weekend at a training we had in Victoria, British Columbia. Very beautiful. However, I think a lot of times people are missing the human connection, or they're afraid of germs or whatever. I regularly feel that it's important to be heart-centered and grounded and be mindful and bring love and acceptance, not only to myself, but to the clients. I see a lot of different types of people, different ages and shapes and sizes. And I often hear people say they use the word hate often. They hate something about themselves. And, I often start with bringing love and acceptance to whatever it is that they're resisting.
That's wonderful. So definitely it's a holistic approach, not just nutritional science where we just look at your metabolic readings and just treat it mechanically as if we were just fixing some numbers. You actually address the whole person as a whole. That's really cool.
Yes, it is, Elsa. Right, that's a good description, whole person.
So, you've treated or helped thousands of clients over years. Maybe tens of thousands of clients. What is the most common misconception amongst people out there before they come see you?
I would say a very common misconception is that going to the gym is going to provide a solution. So going to the gym is very helpful, and you can't just go to the gym and not transform other areas of your life and expect results. Our age is a huge factor, our lifestyle, hydration. Oftentimes our sleep patterns, our sleep hygiene is overlooked. So sleep, hydration, nutrition, our stress levels, our cortisol levels. And like with my mom, she really wasn't able to exercise. I do have a fair amount of people who either they can't exercise for whatever reason, they're recovering from an injury, so they're temporarily not able to exercise, or some people just don't care for exercise. So I don't want them to be stuck and feel that they have to exercise. I want to open up the horizons, and it might even be bringing music into whatever they're doing, like dancing. Maybe they don't think they can dance. I'm like, put on your favorite song and just move your body. Take a walk. Get outside. Go take a walk in the outside. And not with your cell phone, but actually, moving your arms, making it more of an aerobic interaction with nature. Walk barefoot on the sand. Feel the earth's energy.
Right. Yeah, definitely, because exercise is when it becomes a checklist on your to-do list. It can be stressful. Like, oh my God, I haven't got to the gym today and I have to feed 8 kids at home or get groceries or whatever, and it becomes a stressful source instead of helping you. It actually adds on to your stress level and actually making you even fatter that way.
Right. I've had many clients who either were over-exercising, overdoing it, cut back on exercise and modify nutrition, modify other things, and maybe bringing meditation into their life. They're like, meditation?
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. That's one of my favorite subjects. But let's talk about the nutritional aspect before we dive too deep in there. So what is your usual protocol as far as your with your clients?
Okay, so if someone has their lab or blood work that's recent, I am open to having a look at that. If they don't, that's fine. If they have, I sometimes feel very, very blessed to be able to distinguish sometimes just by looking at someone that it's quite possible they have a thyroid condition. And I can sometimes tell this just by looking at them. Or they have a pre-diabetic condition. I can just tell this by looking at them, or the symptoms they've listed on the paperwork, the intake forms that I send out. And so a lot of times I ask them to, say more about this or say more about that. And I want to explore with them. And a lot of times it is, for me, a goal to not have them feel like they're sacrificing, but that they're upgrading their life. Not that they're sacrificing something that they really enjoy, but how could you replace this? And how could you upgrade that?
And what, let's take you back for a second. You said that by looking at a person or even some of the things that they were saying on their intake, you can tell that they have thyroid conditions. Share some example of those symptoms.
Sure. So sometimes there may be some rolls around the neck, some fatty tissue that's collected between the collarbone and the chin. And it may be hereditary. It may or may not be a thyroid condition. But then if they also express to me that they've had a thinning of hair, some hair loss, some digestive issues perhaps, even their energy is just not what it used to be, then I'm definitely going to explore. A lot of people are dealing with soy products that are endocrine disruptors, or BPA in the plastic in so many things. And, I want them to become aware of the different impacts that these products can have on their body. Again, I'm not an expert. I would always suggest we run some tests and see. Sometimes people do say that they have a sneaking suspicion as well, even though the tests come back not revealing that. So I just want to be very thorough.
Definitely. And do you often start your clients with a cleanse or a detox?
That is something that we discuss, and it's very different for everyone. Some of my clients are vegetarian or vegan. Some are meatitarian. Just saying they eat all kinds of different things. And so I do want it to be for them. I don't have a cookie cutter approach, as people have different dietary desires and needs for whatever reason.
And I guess the next question would be, why do so many people fail to lose fat? What are they doing wrong?
Sure. I would say it's not that they failed, it's that the plan or diet that they tried failed them. So I don't ever want them to feel that they failed. I want them to feel a sense of accomplishment when they come and see me. Baby steps, the simplest things: drink more water, get your sleep, avoid stressful situations, and avoid stress to a point where maybe you just need to breathe. The simplest thing, like breathe. Honor whatever process you're going through. I have people who sometimes are dealing with enormous amounts of stress, and it's important to just be present to each situation. And I just want to be in a place where I can offer them whatever they need. Detoxing is very important, and detoxing sometimes can involve, whether they're smoking or drinking alcohol, the littlest things. Soda, diet soda. Many of my clients are addicted to soda or diet soda. Upgrading that to a beverage that is much healthier for them, or looking at something to help heal a digestion issue. I actually consult women that are rescued from human trafficking, and that's often where I start once I work with their sometimes it's communication, personal hygiene, self-acceptance, but healing their gut, heal the cell.
Yeah, definitely, because the gut is usually the door to everything. Like, start with the gut. That's where your immune system is. That's where the root cause of the inflammation is. When people eat bad things like processed foods or too much sugar, it accumulates in the gut and then start to wreak havoc on all the system. So
and actually, even people that may have a condition like a thyroid condition, I said, please stay away from the soy products. The cruciferous vegetables, copious amounts of cruciferous vegetables, which that can also not be good. And depending if the spinach is cooked or raw. So anyway, I just look for people to be more alkaline than acidic and things like that.
Right. And how do you address the emotional component of fat loss?
I address that with my clients beginning with accepting that which they are resisting. And one of my clients was a very young man. He had just started college, so he's over 18. Then my youngest client was, a young child, and I knew that I needed to speak to the parents, of course, to go over a family plan. My oldest clients are in their 90s. I even have a few centenarians, which is amazing. But this young man, he was in college age, and he was very tall and thin, but he felt that he had the muffin top, the spare tire, little belly fat just below his navel. He didn't really have it on the sides. He didn't really have love handles, but he was very self-conscious. Of course, when we look down, things are different than when we stand up straight. And he felt very embarrassed and shameful about his body. And in just speaking with him, he has a mom who is anorexic. He grew up with his mom and dealing with her lack of acceptance around her body. And I asked him what was that like for him, and to be there for that little boy, that no one was there for him. His mom was busy doing what she was doing as an anorexic, and he wasn't able to get the love and acceptance that was missing. So I asked him to bring that, and I asked him what did he like to eat. And he really didn't have any foods that he liked to eat. So I asked him to go to the grocery store and skip down the aisle. Like, bring joy. You can have your music on. Just, you're going to go to the grocery store and you're going to make it fun. You're going to, like, sometimes even my favorite grocery store has amazing music on in the store. There's even videos of me dancing in the grocery store with this man. He was a senior, and I think it was some swing music. We had such a good time right there in the grocery store. And so I asked him to dance in the grocery store. I asked him to come home. And if that was too awkward, just baby steps. You don't have to do that right away. But when you get home, when you're preparing your meal, put on your favorite music, and you're going to just, again, it could be classical music. It could, again, be dance music to bring life and energy to this beautiful meal you've been blessed with, and to prepare it with love and kindness, that you're going to nourish your food. And no cell phones, no computer, no TV, just to be very present to this amazing nourishment and this meal that he chose. He got to choose what he was going to eat, and appropriate quantities, and mixing the right amount of food groups and for nutritional value. It was just amazing. The next time he came in, he was standing up straight. He looked me straight in the eye, and we both just started crying, because he had a huge breakthrough in self-acceptance, in shopping for food, in preparing food, and in eating, and just eating and not being shameful, but being loving and accepting.
Wow. That's pretty deep. Essentially, you are reintroducing the entire eating experience for him. Like, you reshape it, because certainly there was some kind of subconscious emotional attachment to what it means for him growing up every time there's a meal or eating, because for him eating was something that was painful because of him experiencing living with his mother, going through anorexic and dealing with her problem. So you just have to really turn that around and I guess reprogram the experience.
Yes. I asked him to reframe it, and after his huge breakthrough, I asked him if he had talked to his mom, and he said, that's next, and that he was going to go see mom and take her grocery shopping and put music on and cook for her and teach her how to be kind and loving to the process of accepting herself, which was missing. And I said, that's great. Manage up, manage down, pay it back or pay it forward. So I'm glad you're not going to pay it forward to your children, that you're going to break this cycle.
Yeah, and that's so important, I think, because I was talking to another holistic doctor the other day that we don't have a family meal anymore. I think 1 in 6 family have a weekly family meals, something like that, where there's a disconnection between the food and how it enters our body. There's no rituals anymore. The process of cooking and slowly making that food and actually appreciating the process. Look at your food and be grateful or thankful that you get to pick and choose the nutritious food that you're about to have today. And there's a lot of disconnection, especially like processed food and fast food. Like you were saying, those food are not alive. They're dead. They're chemically induced, and there has been processed so many times that there's no life in it.
Right. Exactly. I remember I was on tour in Japan skating. I was promoting skating. I was a teenager, and we wanted to just throw ourselves into the culture. So we got to meet, and they were honored. We were like Team USA. Of course, we were dressed head to toe, red, white, and blue. And everywhere we went, people were taking photos. It was pretty awesome. But we got to meet the mayor of every city we toured. Every city. What an honor to meet the mayor of every city. And part of that process was a tea ceremony. I don't know if you're familiar. This is a ritual, and you turn the cup, and you say certain things, and you do certain things, and There's no shoes. You're sitting, you're actually kneeling. I mean, it was really amazing. And I didn't always understand the words at the time. I've actually studied Japanese since then. But every culture has their rituals. And I think it's important to bring those back. One time, my daughter, when she was in elementary school, they asked me to be like a room mother and a den mother, whatever, is more for Cub Scouts, but it was more for her school. And I was intrigued to find out that the school she was in, there were so many different cultural groups, that we would have a potluck luncheon. And everyone had to bring a food from their culture with the ingredients and the recipe. And it became such a fun event. They actually have made it an annual event at the school now. But it was really fun to go back to those roots and get to know your parents and where did this come from, and have a recipe that maybe was passed down that is top secret. There's some ingredient that you have to put secret ingredient and, you know, you can't divulge that on this 3x5 card, but you can just share that. And they really got into it. It was really fun getting back to those rituals and requesting people to not have social media distracting them from, or even the television, because we're so not present. We've consumed a meal and we think we're still hungry. We'll go for more servings and we're not hungry at all. When we're eating mindfully, we can eat just one bite and we'll begin to feel how it's beginning to fill us up, and in becoming full. We don't need another serving. We don't need that. Actually, sometimes I ask my clients to begin with, do you really want that meal, soda, cigarette, whatever it is that you feel that addiction to? I was going to say chocolate, but I'm a huge fan of healthy chocolate, raw cacao. We'll just say sugar. Sugar's a bigger addiction than many drugs. I ask clients to look, do you really want that item or do you want something else? Mm. Maybe you want a hug.
Yeah.
Maybe you would like a hug or acknowledgement for the amazing work you're doing.
Right.
Or, you know, being a single parent or being a parent with someone else and you still feel like you're doing most of the work. Whatever it is that you need to acknowledge yourself and give yourself a big hug, or come and see me. I'll give you a big hug. You're doing great work. And I want them to have a sense of accomplishment, whether just breathing, sleeping, eating, just, you know, accomplishing, making better choices.
Yeah. And I love your approach where you're very positive, just from pulling from our conversation and how much I learned about you over the past few months. I mean, you use words that are empowering, upgrades, and things like that. Little things like that are actually programming you, because oftentimes we are our own worst critic, right? We always give ourselves the hardest type of words that we wouldn't even say to other people sometimes.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Yes, I ask people, that little inner voice, if you listen to that, if I took off the mute button and if you heard that, that's abusive. That would be like abusive.
Right.
Put down the bat. Stop beating yourself up. You're amazing. You're beautiful.
Definitely. And when you bring up the Japanese tea ceremony, and that's such a very unique experience. But really, they're focusing on the entire process. It's not just the tea; it's the boiling of the tea. You know, you're slowly making the tea, and like you said, turning the cup, and the entire process was focusing on what was going on at that moment in time. You know, over here in America, we just focus on drinking the byproduct, which is the awesome tea, which is loaded with oftentimes caffeine and sugar and milk. But that's what I want to take you to the next concept, which is mindfulness coaching. I think it's all interconnected. What kind of work do you do with people as far as mindfulness coaching?
Sure. Well, meditation is often something that I may introduce to people. And there's so many different meditations that are available. some people are not comfortable with meditation at first and they're just hearing things. I mean, you can take a cell phone, you can find apps on your phone that will guide you through meditation. You can search on the internet. I often just ask people when they get up in the morning just to start each day being in a space of gratitude. That right there is a meditation right there. That's a foundation for creating your day. And bringing gratitude and being open to being a beginner. That way anyone can contribute to you, that you can learn from anyone, myself included. I often am like, wow, when clients will say something, oh, wow, I'm intrigued and I'm interested and I'm full of wonder, like a child, like full of wonder with new eyes, see each day newly. Well, that would come from giving up our filter from the past, like, oh, back to that same old, the grindstone at work, or that same old relationship, or that, people often get up and they wear about the same clothing every day. It may not be a uniform or it may be a uniform. And there are some pretty famous people who wore basically the same clothing. So it was one less decision they had to make in the morning. So
Right.
a meditation may be something that I will recommend. Mindfulness may be like really like hacking their sleep, ways to help them sleep better, hacking their supplements, hacking their sex, hacking their nutrition, hacking their breathing. Just, I want them to have a whole person approach to what they're doing and bring it to the next level.
Awesome. Have you ever seen a rebound effect where people have like a weight loss goal or a fat loss goal, whatever they want to get to, and once they get there, what happened to them? Do they bounce back, or what do you see in your practice?
Sure. So I can say, yes, that has happened. And because of the marketing and the amount of stress that people are dealing with, and every day is a new day and it's a blessing, and every breath is great. People are aging, so I have job security. People are oftentimes overeating or eating the wrong foods. People have holiday events between October and January. The amount of weight people are gaining, I do say, okay, I have job security, but I don't want people just to lose weight and then keep coming back to me. I feel truly to be of service. They can come in for maintenance. They can come in for ongoing coaching, but I want to empower them to make better choices. I may have them for an hour, but when they leave, 23 hours are in their hands, and I want them to be empowered to make better choices. So in the case of a rebound, sometimes they have developed a thyroid condition and the weight has come on. Sometimes the hormones are changing and their metabolism is slowing down. Sometimes there's an outside event that has happened. Sometimes it's within them. And so they always have an open door to come back. And the rebound, it's not a bad experience. They know that it's okay. They need to make different choices, or maybe we'll do some testing to see what's going on, what's really going on. Because they're like, I don't know, I'm trying everything, and what I used to do isn't working. So then we want to dig deeper.
It's a long game, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, I actually say that this isn't a diet. This is a lifestyle.
Definitely.
Very different. This is not a diet. This is a lifestyle.
What are you hoping to see by doing the work you do, and what's your grand vision?
Well, that's a great question. I have been offered a franchise opportunity. I don't know if I want to go that route. I really enjoy interacting with my clients. My end goal, my end result is to receive lots of referrals, more than I already receive. I love when people go share with their family and their friends and loved ones. Their coworkers are like, what are you doing? They're happier, they're healthier. And I don't want people to be so attached to losing inches and pounds, but embracing whatever process they're going through, that they need to go through it at their rate, that their brother or husband, that men and women do things differently, or even two sisters, we have to accept our own place on our adventure and where we are, love the process, love ourselves, bring love and acceptance in the transformation. Like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, they virtually have to it's almost like self-destruction
Right.
to build anew.
That's awesome. Where can people learn more about you?
So I have a website. The website is sffatloss.com. So SF for San Francisco, SF, and then fatloss.com. And that's my business name. And I'm also really excited to explore and see what's next.
Awesome. So we'll link that up in the show notes. So for listeners out there, check out our show note and we'll have Sandi's website up. Well, I really appreciate your time coming on the show and really sharing your message. I think we had a pretty cool conversation today.
Yes, thank you. And I don't always have people come into my locations physically. I actually do coaching via the internet and Skype calls and phone calls. I actually do get calls from many of my skater friends who are like, what are you doing? They are now dealing with gallstones. Right. I mean, over 750,000 people had a gallbladder removal last year. Maybe that could have been avoided. You talked about cleanses. So offering people different things, and many of them have been not local, but far away. And I'm happy to provide those services as well. I especially like meeting people, though, like I said.
Definitely. And there's two-sided. It's basically this technology, the cell phone or internet is, two-edged sword, right? It can distract you to no ends, right? But it also connects you. Just depends on how you utilize it. You got to use it properly and make sure that it works for you instead of against you. So that's awesome.
Right. I actually have a no cell phone rule in my office. I want people to be present, that this is their me time. This is your time.
That's great. You're creating a space, a sacred space for people to actually value themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is a consultation room. It's very safe and quiet in here. And all the other areas, I've actually had people say, I feel like I'm in your living room. It's so warm and it's so comfortable. So I want to create a safe space and not just my credibility, but have people feel at home and share whatever's coming up for them.
The name of the show is called The Wellness Cafe. What is your definition of wellness?
So wellness is a very broad topic, as you know. There's so many ways to describe wellness. I think bringing love and acceptance to wherever you are and loving the journey. People will be in various states of wellness or dis-ease, depending what's going on in their life. It could be just they lifted something wrong. They're like, and they have to heal from that. Or they had a digestive upset from something that didn't agree with them. They had a bad night of sleep. They had a conversation that didn't go the way they wanted it to. For me, wellness is, like I said, bringing love and acceptance to yourself, that you can be okay with whatever's going on with, that you didn't get the best sleep. You can still be empowered that day. Stay hydrated for sure on those days. To be well in your conversations, that you empower others to be well in your digestion, and to know that your body's doing exactly, perfectly, innately what it knows to do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.